Before we go any further, if you care about real agricultural history and field-tested methods that actually work, subscribe to Farm Logic now so you don't miss what's coming next. Ancient nomadic groups did not have fence gardens, irrigation lines, or seed catalogues. They moved constantly, often across dry, degraded, or unpredictable land. Yet historical records from Central Asia, the Middle East, and parts of North Africa show that nomads still managed to establish food plants wherever they paused. Their secret was not better seeds. It was how they prepared them. I tested this method myself, and the results explain why it worked for centuries. So, how did nomads solve the problem of seeds dying before they could even sprout? Well, let's take a closer look, shall we? You know, the biggest challenge in wild or marginal land isn't really soil fertility. It's actually seed survival. Birds come and eat exposed seeds, the sun dries them out, and then, just when you think things might work, a sudden rain can wash them all away. Ancient nomads, quite ingeniously, solved all of this with a simple technique that's now known as clay-seeded pellets, or sometimes seed balls. So, seeds were coated in this protective shell, made from really fine clay and organic matter, and then dried before they set off on their journey. This shell, well, it protected the seed from predators from losing moisture, and from sunlight, at least until, the conditions were just right for germination. Why was clay the perfect ancient technology for seed survival? Well, let's dig into that, shall we? Clay was honestly everywhere, super easy to collect, and quite importantly, biologically useful. When mixed with water and wrapped around seeds, it would form a hard shell as it dried. That simple process, you see, made all the difference. That shell cracked only after repeated wetting from rain or dew. This meant seeds did not sprout during false rains or brief moisture events. They waited. Once the clay softened enough, the seed had stable moisture and immediate contact with soil minerals. This timing advantage is the reason nomads could scatter seeds casually and still see growth weeks later. So, how did organic matter inside the clay give seedlings a head start? Well, let me tell you, it made all the difference for those little seeds. Nomads rarely used pure clay. Instead, they mixed in things like powdered manure, ash, or even composted plant material. It was a clever way to boost the soil, really. This, in turn, created a sort of micro-environment around the seed. So, when the clay cracked open, the seed wasn't just entering dead soil. No, it was stepping into a nutrient-rich pocket already teeming with helpful microbes. This reduced transplant shock and allowed roots to establish quickly, even in poor ground. This detail is often skipped in modern explanations, but it is critical to why the system works so reliably. So, how did I test this method in hostile soil conditions? I tested this technique in compacted dry soil with minimal organic matter. I used native grass seeds and legumes, coated them in clay mixed with sifted compost and wood ash, then dried them for 2 days. I scattered them without tilling, watering only once. Over the following weeks, germination was slower than direct planting, but survival rates were dramatically higher. Seeds planted bare either dried out or disappeared. The clay-coated seeds emerged later, but stronger and more evenly spaced. So, let's talk about how modern gardeners can apply this method, step by step. All right, first start by sourcing fine clay soil and, well, make sure to remove any stones you find. Then mix it with dry compost or, if you have it, some aged manure at roughly a 4-to-1 ratio. Next, add your seeds and, little by little, add water until the mixture can be rolled into small balls. It's a simple process, really, but quite effective. Each ball should contain several seeds, you know. Let them dry completely in the shade. Once they're dry, well, they can be stored for months or scattered any time rain is expected. No digging is required, really. Gravity and moisture do the work. Why this method works especially well for marginal and abandoned land. Clay-seeded pellets excel where soil is compacted, eroded, or, just biologically inactive. The clay protects seeds from surface heat while delivering nutrients exactly where roots emerge. This makes it ideal for, rewilding, pasture recovery, guerrilla gardening and survival food plots. Nomads used this trick because it worked without infrastructure. That same advantage applies today for anyone growing outside controlled garden beds. So, why did timing matter more than precision for ancient nomads? Well, it turns out that acting at just the right moment was often more important than getting every detail perfect. Nomads didn't plant in neat rows. Instead, they scattered seeds widely, and honestly, they just trusted probability to do the rest. Clay-seeded pellets? They really increased the odds that at least some seeds would encounter the right conditions for growth. This strategy, really favoured resilience over efficiency. Modern gardeners, who are often quite obsessed with precision planting, tend to overlook this strength. Broadcasting protected seeds, it actually allows nature to select the best microsites, which in turn reduces human error. How this seed trick changes the way you think about gardening. So, this method, you see, shifts control away from constant watering and soil manipulation and, back toward biology and timing. Instead of, forcing seeds to grow, you create conditions where growth just happens naturally. Ancient nomads understood that survival farming was really about patience, protection, and working with environmental rhythms rather than against them. Why this technique still matters in a changing climate? As droughts increase and soils degrade, methods that reduce water dependence become essential. clay-seeded planting slows germination until moisture is reliable. It reduces seed loss and improves establishment without chemicals or machinery. That is not nostalgia. That is practical resilience. What history proves about growing food anywhere? Nomads did not succeed because they were lucky. They succeeded because they understood soil, moisture and biology at a systems level. This seed trick was not magic. It was applied ecology. Testing it today confirms that ancient knowledge still outperforms many modern shortcuts. If you value tested agricultural history, field logic and techniques that actually work when conditions are bad, subscribe to Farm Logic now. Share this with anyone who thinks good soil is a requirement for growing food, and help bring forgotten proven methods back where they belong.